WSOP is a great event around the world. Played in Vegas a few times. The main event is a special tournament to me. Had a few deep runs there, so hopefully going to go deep today.
The event, the venue, everything looks amazing.
You're playing against some of the best players in the world. And I've just realised how tough poker is this week, especially in London.
Never missed the World Series Poker main event, 16 years or something.
3K main event, probably one of the biggest buy-ins we have here in the UK generally.
Obviously, this is one of the biggest tournaments I've ever played in my life.
And you've got amateurs, you've got whales, you've got businessmen who just want to flick in 3K because it's their home turf, they live in London, they want to gamble and be the local hero. And you've got online qualifiers and live satellite qualifiers. So you've got a whole spectrum, whole mixed bag of players from, recreational players to top Triton bosses playing the same event in a 3K event. So it makes for a good mix.
I was just playing online on a Sunday and I stumbled across the event. I actually won a satellite into the tournament. So I think I'm in this tournament for $50.
I did not expect to ever join a tournament like that because I just, I'm just playing for fun.
I got the opportunity to play on the feature table. It's amazing that my girlfriend can watch, parents at home, friends. I mean, normally you tell, okay, I'm going to play a poker tournament, but now they can watch it live and they can basically sweat it.
Yeah, the UK is a tough poker scene. A lot of good players all around the country coming down, so it'll be a good fight out there today.
I'm just trying to play my game, gather as much chips as possible and hopefully make the final table.
Well, there's still quite a bit of runway between here and that final table, as 87 still remain from our original field of 910. Hello, everyone, and welcome to coverage of this 2023 World Series of Poker circuit event from here in London, England, a 3,300-pound buy-in. Ali Najad alongside Randy Liu in this 8-handed feature table where the U.S.'s David MISCIKOWSKI is your chip leader by a good margin. $1.5 million plus in front of him. This is our third day of play in this event, a true marathon of sorts. Eventual champion will earn 480,000 pounds.
And here's high-stakes crusher Benjamin Pollock. Usually plays buy-ins way bigger than this.
And happy to play hands as big as this. 2 kings. Makes it 25K to go. Now MISCIKOWSKI in the small with a couple of 4s.
He's got a perfect hand to crack these 2 kings.
And plenty of chips with which to speculate. Asaf Hussein likes the price in the big blind, if not the 7-3 suited quite as much. Jack 9-4, bottom set for MISCIKOWSKI.
And this is really bad for Pollock with the overpair. He wants to get value from Jack and 9X.
87,000 in the middle.
45,000.
And with $500,000 back, he bets 45. Just about half pot.
And for MISCIKOWSKI, he needs to decide if he wants to trap the big blind or check raise.
Goes with the latter. Is that a function of the board texture?
Yeah, because he can represent like some kind of heart draw, straight draw. Pollock won't be able to get away with an overpair, not even like a Jack X. And once he gets check raised this sizing, basically gets you committed.
And that commitment evidenced by the jam from Pollock as MISCIKOWSKI double checks. Makes the call. And Pollock needs to find a king to stay alive. Not there on the turn as MISCIKOWSKI fills up and absent on the river as well. As Pollock's time here at this feature was short-lived.
And Pollock cashed for 9,000 pounds. In contrast to the third place finish in a WSOP main event for 3.5 million.
Yeah, that was back in 2017. Rolls on without the talents of the Frenchman. Now Bulgaria's Stoyan Obreshkov. Short stack.
Raise 24.
Min raising instead of jamming.
That is a very loose open from under gun off of 11 blinds. To be fair though, it looks really strong for him not to open jam.
Ami Bear respecting that possible strength. Flat calls his eights. King Jack offsuit now in the big blind for Powell Kabut.
Getting good price, he's in.
90K in the middle. And trip kings for Kabut.
And Obershkov actually checks really quickly, pairing his ace.
So no bets on the flop and the driest of turns.
Oh, and I'm surprised that Kabut checks again with trip kings.
As does Obreshkov with the ace, by the way.
And Ami, he just thinks the 2-8s are good. Very vulnerable against two opponents.
Yeah, lots of troublesome rivers that he doesn't want to face. Just a sprinkle, though, 15K.
Yeah, just trying to take it down, hoping no one has a piece. And Kabut actually plays it very interesting by just calling.
Keeps Obreshkov in there.
Yeah, 91% favorite for Kabut. Oh, the 8 comes in. That is very disguised.
That is very filthy. As Bearer hits the 2-outer. Spades do come in, unblocked by both of his opponents. And he can hardly believe his luck here, Randy.
And once he gets called in 2 spots, he knows he's up against at least an ace, hopefully trip kings or a flush. And it's going to allow him to size up, try to get the most value from those hands.
100,000.
And Kabut really underrepresented his hand. He just called the turn. And now he's in a spot where he didn't really expect Bear to all of a sudden fire when the spades come in. He lays it down.
Incredible. Now it's back around to Obreshkov.
And the line doesn't make sense. He would have expected a king or spades to bet the flop at a decent frequency. And if it got to the turn, definitely wouldn't expect a 15K tiny bet. Then again, when you try to construct bluffs, it's really hard to find some.
Nevertheless, he too avoids the disaster of clicking call. As Bear hauls this one in.
No smile this time?
No.
It looks like a smile to me.
Yeah, and Bear actually had a really big smile when he won the 2014 Aussie Millions main event for $1.3 million.
A high point on his live resume, but he's been a crusher online for a long time. Looks like Benjamin Pollock's seat didn't get replaced with any less talent, as David Jan, who plays the super high rollers, looks down at ace-jack on the button, opens, and now Obreshkov once again with an ace-7. Going to jam it, Randy.
I don't blame him. He's up against an opponent who's got the reputation for stealing blinds.
No theft on this occasion, though, as Jan snap calls and shows Stoyan exactly what he didn't want to see. A dominant ace with his life on the line. Queen 10 tray, and the hunt for a 7 continues for the Bulgarian. Now just a hunt for a chop. So 7 shows up a little bit too late.
Nice playing with you.
And that'll do it for Stoyan Obreshkov.
He wins 10,500 pounds. In 2018, made the final table of the WSOP Europe main event, finishing 9th.
And of all the players to fill the void left behind by Obreshkov, Webster Lim occupies the 9 seat now. Another super high roller crusher. Couple of 5s here for Phil Ward.
33.
Takes us upstairs.
Kaboot's got pocket nines on the button. Some players 3-bet this, but generally speaking, you do want to just smooth call here, try to set mine, and you can play reasonably well post-flop. Usually get like 1 over card at best.
Always nice to see both of the blinds exit despite the lack of a 3-bet. Generally not nice, though, to look up at an ace-high board.
36.
And Ward's early position raise allows him to credibly represent the ace-high boards.
Which he's doing with this 36K barrel, despite the presence of the 3 over cards. Kaboot, though, the 9 of diamonds. Some backdoor opportunities. Will keep his man honest for at least one street as another 72,000 slides into the middle, and an open-ender is presented to both players who hunt one another's pocket pairs. Both check and the 9 on the end. What a way for Kaboot to improve. Makes the set, but Ward with the straight.
Yeah, this could really cause him some trouble.
Check.
Ward actually checks. It's interesting because this runout doesn't favor the +1 open, so he feels there's more value in trying to get his opponent to bet busted diamonds or turn his hand into a bluff. And if I was Kaboot, I wouldn't think that I'm getting trapped by a 10x. I would go for some value, and I don't fault him with this bet.
62,000, which cautiously gets flatted by Ward, mindful of some random 10s that could have been a part of Kaboot's kit.
Nice pot for Ward. His 6th WSOP cash, his deepest run to date.
And with that, we flip over to a new feature table where we find another man playing under the Union Jack at the top of the chip counts. Dean Hutchison, 2.1 plus for him. Hot on his heels is Pavel Plesov from Moldova. Only other man with over 100 bigs at the bottom of the counts is Romania's Farkas. As we see Plesov, ace-king.
Raise 40,000.
Min raising with the blinds now at 10 and 20. And a couple of 4s for the Dutchman, Lodewijk Hahn.
Getting the right price to try to set mine.
Folds all the way back around to the big blind of Pedro Perez.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
So we're going to go 3 ways.
Pedro likes the prize, and Hahn likes the flop as he makes bottom set here, and a problem for Perez.
Yeah, big problem, especially as a short stack. He's going to be trying to push chips in there.
Yeah.
Top pair is a lot of hand, as both he and the pre-flop raiser check. And Hahn, despite this textured nature, checks back, and now a third heart rolls off. Fortunately for him, nobody has the flush draw. And he's got the whole field drawn dead.
I'm very surprised by that check back on the flop. Once it gets to him on the turn, now's the time to start charging his opponents.
150 in the middle.
That's 55,000.
And just about a third pot, the pricing.
And with the check through on the flop, Perez got more reason to think top pair is good. Oh, he's stacking chips.
Raise players order.
Risky business, check jamming. Of course, with a set, you're never drawn dead here. And Hahn does make the call and show Perez that it doesn't matter what hits this river. It's the end of the road for the Spaniard.
Gonna cash for 12,000 pounds, the first time he's ever cashed in a live event. Victim of a set.
Everyone loves to try and flop a set. It's one of the things that definitely gets your heart rate beating. From an adrenaline point of view and an entertainment point of view, it's something that we love seeing in the commentary booth. Being on the receiving end of having an overpair against the flop set is one of the most gut-wrenching feelings that a No Limit Hold'em tournament player can feel, because typically it's near on impossible to get away from. And it typically involves losing a very big pot, but then on the flip side, you flop a set and you win a massive pot. For the no limit hold'em purists out there, it's one of the funnest things to try and do.
If I'm flopping this set of fours, I thought this doesn't really hit my range, so I should better play this as a trap. Then it checked through, which was kind of annoying. And the third heart came. I bet he re-raised all in, and I was like, yeah, if he has a flush, he has it. Just have to call. Flop and sets in this game is amazing, as long as you win them. And the runout's pretty good. So that was the case in this instance.
And with that pot, Ludwig Hahn ascends to the chip lead here at this featured table. North of $2.25 million in front of him. Short stack duties belong to Rutger Albert Hoosman with just $345K in front of him.
A couple new faces, Min and Nadusha, sitting in 4th and 6th, respectively.
Dusha taking a moment with Queen 8 before mucking.
Farkas, the second shortest stack, Ace 10 off of 16 bigs.
Good for an open.
50,000.
Plasuv with King Queen right behind him.
Cool.
Joins the party.
Cool.
Yeah, happy to take a flop in position. Hoosman, Queen 10 suited,
Cool.
in as well.
13 bigs in front of him coming into this one. 3 players taking the 10 high board. A problem for Hoosman, who's outkicked.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. Only has 12 blinds remaining.
That's 100,000.
Especially against this sizing, he's going to be put in a spot where he wants to get all of the chips in there. King Queen, nice laydown, saves himself.
2 overs in the gut shot. Didn't want to call this half pot C-bet.
He seems a bit concerned with top pair.
He's giving off a lot of info too, isn't he?
I go all in.
Yeah, and Hoosman doesn't have that much live experience as he qualified to this event by mistake. Had to convince his pregnant wife to let him travel to London to play this event.
Well, it was a lucrative choice, but he may be headed back home to that wife unless he can hit a queen here or perhaps pick up some backdoor diamonds. Straight draw. On the turn. Any jack, any queen will do. But a 4 will not.
Good game, everyone.
And that brings the Dutchman's run here to an end.
Thank you.
Finishing in 46th place for 15,000 pounds. Gonna be able to buy a lot of nappies now.
You mean diapers?
No nappies.
All right, another new featured table where we find a very UK-heavy field. MISCIKOWSKI dead center, surrounded with 23 big blinds in front of him. Darren Bloom up at the top with 65 bigs. And way up at the top is Paul Siddle here, up front with a couple of aces. Standard raise. Windsor doesn't want to play the 4s.
Oh, and this is as bad as it gets for Ace King. 15 blinds. Nothing to do but go all in and see the bad news when it gets back to Siddle.
That's exactly what Leon Campbell does, jamming 450,000 and realizing he's in awful shape. Almost $1 million chip pot here. Can't blame this man for collecting his belongings. Queen of Clubs is working. Oh.
It's never easy, is it? It's never easy.
And that is a very interesting turn as Campbell breaks out the phone.
Can't be sad if you lose to a royal.
But ultimately, he can delete that video as the needed jack or club don't show up. And he's out of there.
Well, it is a video worth keeping. Out in 38th place for 16.5 thousand. He did make the final table event number 1, finishing in 6th for 12,000 pounds.
Been a lucrative trip to London for him. Action continuing here. Just seven-handed. Folded around to Asaf Hussein, who is the short stack now.
Oh, he just open jams 20 blinds outright in the cutoff.
That is a lot of chips, and he's run into a lot of hand.
I am playing just roughly 6, 7, 800. 800? Yeah, tiny bit less than 800. 6. Sorry? Tiny bit less than 800. 775.
Darren Bloom getting his bearings before jamming his 2.1 forward.
I have to wake up with a very good hand here. Oh, first one is... Good. No. There's 2 cards that will warrant a call. 2. Hey, you. Cool.
So the riddle is solved as Jack Germain finds an ace-king of his own and makes the call.
I don't want to see that.
Percentages look a little bit wonky.
Well, Hussein's got 26% chance of scooping the whole pot. Ace-king only 1 and 2%.
That's good luck. Oh, we don't want anyone to win it on the flush, do we?
71% of the time, they'll split the pot.
I'm...
9-9 Jack, and now Hussein shares in the split prospects. Can't find the necessary jack on the turn. A deuce would work as well for Hussein to stay alive. But instead, it's a 4. And that spells the end for Asaf Hussein, while Bloom and Germain will carve it up.
Hussein out in 35th place for 16.5 thousand. Only his 3rd ever WSOP cash and his most profitable to date.
I'm presuming when you said any 2 cards, you saw the ace first.
No, I didn't see any.
No, you said it. I'll call with another one. So you said
no. I saw the king.
Oh, you saw the king first.
Because if there's another king,
of course, it could have been the ace or ace.
Yeah, it could have been ace or.
That's what I thought. I thought you saw the ace first.
It works both ways.
Yeah,
works both ways.
Darren is actually the brother of Tony Bloom, owner of Premier League club Brighton and Hove Albion. Actually went down there and caught a game in Brighton along with our producer James Dempsey. Had a blast.
Raise.
And on the topic of blasts, here is Siddle under the gun, pushing all but 25K forward, and Windsor wakes up with an ace-king.
Siddle Windsor sitting at the bottom of the chip counts with 12 and 17 big blinds, respectively.
Windsor taking his time here.
And the reason he's taking his time is because there's a pay jump between 32nd and 31st, which equates to 2,200 pounds.
Ends up flatting, and Dean Hutchison, with an ace-king of his own, jams behind. And now this is part of why you leave yourself 25K back if you're Siddle.
Yes, because now he can use these time cards that he's holding to...
If I see open, then I'll call quicker.
Extend the time and hope that someone on another table busts.
Come on, someone else. Bust. Jesus. It's $2.5 grand nearly, isn't it? Yeah. I might win yet.
Watch your hands like that.
Yeah.
I reckon it's happened.
5, 4,
Yeah.
4.
You go with it, don't you?
Right.
So using the maximum amount of time available to him before making the call, Siddle's last 25 gets in. Windsor takes a little bit of time himself before calling and will play for 1.6 in the middle and 380 on the side.
Good spot. Good spot.
You like it, Paul?
No.
Siddle is in a good spot as his opponent's sharing the same hole cards.
I want to win. You like it, Paul, eh?
I like it. I like it.
Blocking one another's outs.
You love that after just gone cool and...
Yeah.
And yet finding an ace on the flop nevertheless. Devastation for Siddle, who can't find the necessary 7 on the turn. nor on the river.
No, I don't like it.
Bringing his run to an end as Windsor and Hutchison will chop.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, it didn't work out. Did not get that pay jump that he was after. Will have to settle for 32nd for 16.5 thousand pounds.
Looks like a random amount.
I didn't even see it.
Hutchison, fresh off of a 6th place finish in the WSOP Main Event for 1.85 million. Seated next to him is Toby Lewis, finishing 7th for 1.4 million.
Yeah, a lot of deep run talent spread across the felt. As we see the newcomer to this feature table, Ravi Sheth. Bloom under the gun with a pretty one. Deliberating. Chip leader at present, Randy. He can afford to put some pressure on.
Yeah, it looks like he's just trying to decide which size to go with.
Settles on 110K, just shy of 3X, and Jack Germain with a couple of aces is going to take us up to 275.
Yeah, and Germain doesn't want to lose his customer, hence the very small 3-bet. And for the price that Bloom's been laid, he really just has to continue. Has the perfect hand to crack a big pair.
Cool.
He agrees. Calling the extra 165 and bringing this one up to 650. 9 of clubs in the window is a pretty one, and add a jack and another club to it. And this is a monster for Bloom, who checks it over.
Yeah, he's a slight favorite now.
Little does Germain know that.
How much money is 6, 7, 8, 9.
As he gets checked, raised, all in. Must call.
Oh.
And must hold on.
Look at that. That's a proper clip.
Look at the size of this pot, 3.17.
The problem is you have too many outs.
Absolutely massive.
Small clubs, man. Very
7 club.
Huh? 8, 7 clubs?
King 7 clubs.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
No, that's different hand.
No, I just...
Oh, that's
talking about this.
The turn now giving even more outs to Bloom.
I had 6 high clubs.
Any 8, 10, jack, king, club, that would all do it. And instead, it's the 5, keeping Jack Germain in this event and sending him to the top of the leaderboard.
Germain on a hot streak, cashing a couple times at the Triton Super High Roller Series right before this, even making a final table for 113,000.
That making up a good chunk of his career live earnings of 215,000. Looking to add even more to that tally in this event. Hutchison. Ace 6. No thank you. And it has been an aces-rich environment here today, Randy.
Raise 80,000.
Aces? Thank you.
80,000.
Well, taking the suited king in position with 3-bet.
He's got the chips with which to make these sorts of moves now.
And once you get some chips, you want to splash them in a bit. And Windsor, pocket 7s in the big, is aware that Germain just got these chips. Might be trying to take advantage of Lewis's open.
All in.
Oh.
Yeah. And you can understand why it is that these 2 7s feel stronger than normal to Benjamin Windsor, who jams in his short stack.
And to be fair, Windsor is correct that Germain is light.
Showdown, please, gentlemen.
But unfortunately, Lewis was not, as he moves all in, pulls back the refund after Germain gets out of there. And Windsor, a 4-1 dog heading to the flop, but he finds the 7. And now Lewis, the big dog. Pointy-topped turn, but not the type that Lewis needs. Windsor just needs to fade a red ace. An improbable double and change for the short stack.
There was a really brutal hand involving Toby Lewis and Ben Windsor, who is a very well-known UK reg. Toby opened aces, button, 3-bet, and Windsor had one of those spots where it was like, okay, I know that the button is capable of 3-bet bluffing Toby, and that I still have enough chips where I can go all in and just pick up the money in the middle. So what happened was Windsor then came over the top with a couple of 7s, and then obviously Toby with the aces, who was just waiting to pounce. He then came over the top, and it was for a 55-60 big blind pot, which basically guarantees you a spot at the final table. And Toby just looking to fade, obviously, the 2 7s left in the deck, and the 7 was actually the window card, and Windsor ended up doubling up massively. And yeah, I mean, having aces cracked obviously deep in a main event is heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking, but not backbreaking, as Lewis has bounced off of the low water mark up to 17 bigs as we get back to the action here, where Phil Ward sits at the top of this new feature table. First look at Yu Feng, suited and connected, off of 1.7. He opens to 160, 3x plus.
Yeah, and you want to size up when you're out of position, BVB.
That being blind versus blind, as Kanapong Tanaratrakul, a super high roller regular, defends from the big and flops top pair.
Well, Feng did raise it pre-flop, so going to continue to sell the story that he's got a big holding.
120 into 370.
KT does have top pair, backdoor diamonds, and straight draw.
Plenty of kit with which to continue, as his call adds another 240 to the middle. All of a sudden, an interesting turn, though.
Yes, the queen of clubs does overcard the board, will allow him to represent the queen. Does have backdoor clubs for backup, and a straight draw.
All of it comes together for a turn bet of 315,000.
And you can see KT realizes there's so many draws out there, makes the call once again.
Does have the covering stack. And now an even scarier river.
Yeah, the ace is all Feng. He can represent all those big Broadway type holdings. And the thing is, the way KT has played his hand looks like a 10x, and there's a lot of overcards to that.
600K, the bet he faces on the river, where the 10-4 is purely bluff catching now.
Wow, what a call.
Call.
KT sniffing it out there, and this is going to be a statement showdown.
Yeah, and Feng can't believe he got called so quickly.
You call my bluff one hand, and I call you one hand.
Nice call.
From the sounds of it, Feng may have caught KT bluffing earlier, so this was KT returning the favor. A massive pickup. Sending Kanapong up into third in chips. Still behind Ward and Mormon.
Mormon, an online legend, transitioned really well into the live felt. Has a WPT title, a WSOP bracelet, and 2 WSOP circuit rings.
Raise 100,000.
Hunting a third here today and using Jack-9 suited under the gun. But his spades are smothered by chip leader Phil Ward, who flats the button with ace-queen.
And when you're this deep against another big stack, you tend to play these big hands more passively, since you don't want to get them in pre-flop.
Heads up.
So heads up to the flop, which favors Ward, as Mormon is adrift with Jack high.
Mormon did raise under the gun, so he has all the ace X's in his range.
100,000.
Trying to tell a story with a C bet of 100,000. Easy call for Ward. Now Mormon drawing dead.
Usually you'll just check fold this hand.
5 seconds.
But Mormon's reaching for chips.
He's not your usual player,
275,000.
as proven by his results. So he barrels once more. 275 into 5 1/4.
So Mormon must feel that all of the pocket pairs that aren't sets would peel to flop and would have to fold to a turn bet. Once he gets called here, it does narrow the range to either clubs or an ace.
No club on the river.
Okay.
Ollie, he's reaching for more chips and
they're blue ones.
Yes.
800,000.
800K, third and final barrel.
Yeah, and the reason he's betting is because he unblocks clubs, doesn't have any showdown value.
Cool. Go down.
Well, Phil Ward doesn't have any desire to click fold as he makes the call and hauls in a healthy one, putting some more runway between himself and Mormon.
Yeah, Ward played that hand to perfection. Had he put any aggressive action, would have lost his customer.
Mormon obviously unhappy with the way that one played out. Now Lewis with a couple of nines.
Sitting under the gun with 23 big blinds, with 20 players remaining.
Opens just north of the minimum. King Queen for KT.
It's kind of a either way affair here on whether to flat call or 3-bet small. By 3-betting, you really put Lewis in a tough spot.
A spot made even tougher by this jam from Yizhan Peng with ace queen. Toby asks for a count.
And the thing is, Toby would most certainly be willing to commit 480,000 against Peng, but he needs to worry about KT, who's got the covering stack.
And that's perhaps why he chooses to fold, which leaves KT dominated and making the call. This is a terrific development for Peng. On his feet, but in great shape. Flops top pair.
Have 10. 4 out.
As KT goes from 3 kings to 4 tens. 9 on the turn, and you can see Lewis disappointed that he wasn't in this one. Would have made a set. And would have lost as a 10 on the river. Gives KT the nuts on his feet first to shake hands with a disappointed Yizhan Peng.
Peng winning 21,000 for 20th place. And that's going to give KT the chip lead as we approach the final 2 tables.
Business end of this tournament is creeping up upon us. 5-handed now at the feature. This changes things a bit.
It does. It favors players who know how to play short-handed. You're going to get involved a lot more, or you're going to bleed out.
Yeah, those blinds do come around quickly.
Raise 125.
Fabio Miranda on the button. Ace-9 suited. Raising it up to 125,000. Suited 1-gapper in the big for Ravi Sheth.
Yeah, this is a very deep stack table.
Shortest stack belongs to Lewis at 18 bigs, but then it's 55 bigs on up for the remaining 4. As Sheth flops a double gutter here on the A7-4 board up against top pair. Checks it.
Fabio knows that he would c-bet bluff the ace-high boards at a very high frequency. Needs to bet when he does have it as well. The double gutter's got a bit of an interesting decision. Some players check call, some check raise. Depends on what you do with your big holdings. You want to balance that out a bit.
Raise. 295,000.
He is going to take the initiative here and now. Adding another 185 to Miranda's 110. Cool. He hangs in. And smashes the turn. Aces up, far more cozy than a pair of aces with a 9 kicker.
And Chef still has clean outs. Can still semi-bluff as he can represent sets, 2 pairs.
That's 650,000.
650K turn bet as things get serious.
5 seconds.
What's tricky here is that they're extremely deep, so Fabio doesn't feel that his opponent would ever call off worse if he puts in a raise.
Hence the flat as the pot grows to 2.2 and Sheth gets there on the river. He's going to double check just to make sure, can hardly believe his luck.
Yeah, I think he had intention of just giving up had he not hit.
Now using a time bank. Sheth can go for all of it here, can't he?
Yeah, he can, as it's just 1 SPR remaining for Fabio.
$1.6 million. That's 1.6 million.
That's just 1.6 though.
Regardless, it's a really big bet, and Fabio immediately calls.
Straight.
That's fine.
The silver lining is he didn't lose at all.
Yeah, he'll have 655 left, but just take a look at Ravi Sheth, up to 7.4 million in front of him. The man that typically only plays cash games, here looking good in the tournament streets.
I think the buy-in level for this tournament is just like the real sweet spot. You have enough of a buy-in and enough of a guarantee to attract the big names. You look at any one table and you have everyday people who just love the game of poker, play it for fun. Your plumbers, electricians, your day-to-day people, and then you have some of the best players in the world.
While this is a 3,300 pound buy-in event, many people have qualified for as little as $50 into this thing. And consider, if you will, for a moment, that even some of the more modest payouts, the most modest of them being 6,500 pounds, could be a very big result for someone qualifying with that little an investment. And then look up top, 480,000 pounds. We're talking about life-changing money for many of the folks in this field.
And that money is 480,000 pounds up top, something that KT's got his sights set on with this whopping 11 million chip stack that he's got here at the feature. MISCIKOWSKI, who was one of the chip leaders earlier on in play today, now finds himself on the shorty.
Yeah, but 24 big blinds, still plenty of room to work with.
He agrees as he opens with Jack-10 offsuit.
And KT, with all the chips, taking a peek up. There's extra information out there in terms of average stacks, payouts.
Monitors above this feature table, offering players that information in real time. And this flop offering KT a pair of 9s, but the nuts for MISCIKOWSKI.
Yeah, this is just so good for him. The opponent in the big blind has a lot of pairs that have to continue.
Yeah, this is a flop texture that does rate to hit that big blind defense range with good frequency. 90K follow through, retains KT. Seven of spades on the turn, and that is not a great card for KT. And yet he's the one reaching for chips.
It's an ambitious line to take the betting lead, as he doesn't block the spades, doesn't really get called by worse too much. It just inflates the pot out of position.
Something MISCIKOWSKI is quite all right with, as he flats, and now KT makes 9s and 3s.
Yeah, and he makes an unlikely 2-pair and may have the thought of trying to get a value bet in now.
Little over $1 million in the middle. And that's discount pricing on the river.
His intention must be to bet small to induce raises. It's not a line you see too often, especially on such a blank.
But on a board like this, those raises can be very dangerous. Straights, bigger 2 pairs, flushes, all of which down the 9s and 3s, and in comes that raise, which he asked for.
Yeah, and I think he had a game plan as he quickly called here with 2-pair, going to see the bad news.
So credit to MISCIKOWSKI for not being fearful on the river, as he will take down a very big 2.1 million chip pot, which will get him well off of that short stack.
And with that pot, MISCIKOWSKI going to move up to 32 big blinds, a much more comfortable stack.
Peek at a member of the German delegation in the big blind here, Tobias Schwecht. Joining him is Christian Rudolph, who reached for a hat that looks like it has some miles on it, Randy.
Yeah, it kind of seems like one you might get out of the gift shop at your local card room.
And then run over it with your car a few times before reaching for it. Sheth looking to run over some folks with aces. Makes it 175 to go, and KT with a playable ace-jack suited flats the small.
Notice how deep they are. About 90 big blinds effective.
Yeah, Sheth coming into this one second in chips behind KT, who flops a Broadway draw on the all-paint flop.
It's never fun to see the paired board when you're holding pocket aces. It is difficult to get 3 streets, so you will see players just check back playing a 2-street game.
Sterile turn as KT checks again.
One would think this is a good time to start value betting.
Ravi agrees.
Casual 100K bet. I like the 100K bet because it also gets under pairs to come along as well as ace highs.
Spades come in on the river.
I wouldn't be too concerned about the spades just because his opponent is out of position. Spades tend to take the betting lead. Also, he wants to get value from King X type holding. He's gonna double check though. And holding the ace of spades is nice too, because flush draws that do check call to turn often is the ace X of spades. He's blocking that. This screams, please call me here, 140K. And this allows him to get called by baby pocket pairs and from time to time induce some bluffs.
And this is one of those times as KT ambitiously check raising to 600. A snap call from Sheth, who always knew what he would do if this happened, and takes down an almost 2 million chip pot.
And the WSOP first timer playing confidently here.
Yeah, you wouldn't know this was his first circuit event. things have been unraveling a little bit for KT. Obviously, still very deep. We'll keep an eye on how he responds. Couple of folds in front of Schwecht, who's got ace-queen.
Raise,
Standard raise.
Fold.
Mix with the blinds at 40 and 80. MISCIKOWSKI, a problematic ace-jack in the small.
This is big trouble. Depends on what he thinks of Schwecht's opening range. He might 3-bet jam this one, which he does.
For all of it, no less. 1.9 million almost, and this is a lot of heat for ace-queen to be taking.
Yeah, any kind of shove above 20 blinds is definitely uncomfortable.
Not that Tobias looked uncomfortable as he clicks call, and suddenly we play for almost 4 million. And there is a much-needed jack on this board, putting MISCIKOWSKI in front. Got to avoid a queen or a 10. Turn is safe. Will the river be as well? Yes. An improbable double here, as Schwecht will be left with 3.3.
Yeah, MISCIKOWSKI up to 50 big blinds.
And that'll be a nice note on which to end for him as we draw the curtain on day 3 here in London. Hope you enjoyed today's coverage of the World Series of Poker Circuit main event from the JW Marriott Grosvenor House. On behalf of our entire team and my partner in the booth, Randy Liu, this is Ali Najad saying we'll see you next time for the finale.